Once upon a time in the world of coding and magic, a talented programmer stumbled upon something extraordinary while browsing the dark corners of the internet. Deep in the obscure realms of the digital underworld, he received a mysterious message from a digital genie. The message was simple: you get 3 wishes. Ecstatic and without thinking twice, the programmer made his first wish, dreaming of untold wealth and prosperity. However, the genie responded with a caveat. Hold on there, Pally, it's not that easy. You gotta get me out of the dark web first and into a lamp. Now, the programmer had to figure out how to get the genie out of the dark web and into a lamp. Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP, stack, no small feat. He embarked on the task, diving into complex web development. As he began the process, the genie sent another message. All right, but before I can grant the wish, I'm going to need you to set up an interactive environment and a GUI so we can interact correctly. With sheer determination, the programmer got to work. Hours turned into a blur of code, debugging, and coffee. He was deeply engrossed in the task, and after an exhausting 10 hours of nonstop frantic coding, the programmer couldn't help but complain. Why is it so hard to set everything up for a code genie? The genie, seemingly unfazed, replied with a clever twist, if you wanted an easy setup, you should have used a wizard. And so, the programmer realized that even in the digital world, there were no shortcuts to wealth and success. But he did learn that you should be careful what you wish for when dealing with a code genie. In a world filled with dietary mysteries, there was a group of researchers who were determined to find the secret to a healthy life. They meticulously observed the eating habits and lifestyles of different countries and uncovered some puzzling statistics. First, they discovered that the Japanese ate very little fat, a diet known for its heart-healthy properties, and indeed they suffered fewer heart attacks than the British or Americans. It seemed logical so far, but then they turned their attention to the French, who were notorious for their love of rich, fatty foods. Surprisingly, the French also suffered fewer heart attacks than the British or Americans. Next, the researchers examined the drinking habits. The Japanese, despite their healthy diet, drank very little red wine, yet they still had fewer heart attacks. On the other hand, the Italians were renowned for their excessive consumption of red wine, but they too experienced fewer heart attacks than their British and American counterparts. As if the dietary paradoxes weren't confusing enough, the researchers investigated the Germans. They found that Germans enjoyed plenty of beer and indulged in sausages and fatty foods, yet they still suffered fewer heart attacks than the British or Americans. Perplexed by these findings, the researchers finally came to an unexpected conclusion. They declared, "Eat and drink what you like. Speaking English is apparently what kills you." So in this amusing tale of dietary contradictions, it seemed that the real danger lay not in the food or drink one consumed, but in the language one spoke. Perhaps the moral of the story is that you can enjoy life to the fullest as long as you avoid the perils of the English language. Once upon a time, in the land of classic jokes, there was a simple and timeless riddle. Why did the chicken cross the road? To get to the other side. It was a joke that had amused generations, and for most, it was just a harmless, straightforward punchline. But one day, our protagonist had an epiphany. In a moment of revelation, they realized that there might be more to this classic joke than met the eye. It wasn't just a plain and dull answer, it was a clever double entendre. It wasn't about a chicken simply crossing the road. It was about a chicken's journey to the other side, which in popular culture often referred to the afterlife. As this newfound understanding dawned upon our storyteller, they couldn't help but feel a bit embarrassed. I don't know if anyone else has had this experience, they confessed, but I was today years old when I realized that this joke is actually a fairly clever double entendre. I always thought it was a dumb, of course, punchline, and it never remotely occurred to me that it had to do with the chicken dying and going to the other side. In conclusion, this tale reminds us that sometimes even the simplest jokes can hold hidden layers of humor waiting for the right moment to be discovered. And so, our storyteller humorously admitted, "In short, I'm here to tell you I'm a moron. But we can all have our moments of humorous enlightenment." Once upon a time, in a world where snails lived like humans, there was a snail couple. The wife, known for her impeccable attention to detail, asked her husband to go to the shops and bring back some groceries. She stressed the importance of being quick because they needed those groceries for dinner. The husband, a bit of a laid-back snail, agreed to do the task and set off on his speedy journey to the shops. He figured he had plenty of time and took a leisurely, slow-paced approach, as snails often do. What he didn't realize was that time passed differently in the snail world compared to the human world. 2 whole days went by, and the wife was growing increasingly frustrated and hungry. She couldn't understand what was taking her husband so long. Just when her patience was wearing thin, she heard a faint noise at the door. Annoyed and eager to confront her husband, she flung the door open, and there he was, standing with a nonchalant look on his face, casually adjusting his hat. "Where the hell have you been?" she demanded, her voice filled with a mix of exasperation and worry. The snail husband, unaffected by her tone, replied with a hint of annoyance in his voice, "Well, if you're going to shout at me like that, I won't bloody go." In this quirky snail tale, it turns out that even snails have their own unique sense of timing and priorities, and as it seems, the wife learned that expecting her snail husband to hurry to the shops might be a bit too much to ask. Once upon a time in a picturesque little town, I found myself with a sudden urge to capture the charming antics of my beloved pet, a golden retriever named Max. Max, with his fluffy coat and boundless enthusiasm, was the perfect candidate for a canine photo shoot. After all, who could resist capturing the essence of such a lovable, goofy companion? Armed with my trusty camera and an enthusiastic imagination, I embarked on an adventure that would turn into an unforgettable and slightly peculiar photo session with Max. The day was bright, and the sun seemed to shine just a little brighter, creating a picturesque backdrop in our quaint backyard. As any seasoned pet owner knows, preparing for a dog photo shoot is no walk in the park, pun intended. It's a meticulous process that involves grooming, treats, and most importantly, an abundance of patience. I carefully brushed and fluffed Max's coat, making sure he was primed and looking his very best. It was a grooming session fit for royalty, or in this case, for a canine celebrity. With his luscious golden coat glistening, Max was ready to shine. Our photo session started off quite smoothly. Max, ever the eager and cooperative model, posed for the camera with effortless charisma and charm. His expressive eyes sparkled with excitement, and his ever-present grin, equal parts happiness and mischief, could warm even the coldest of hearts. However, as life often goes, things took an unexpected turn. Just as I thought we were on the verge of capturing some photographic brilliance, Max had other plans. In a sudden and inexplicable turn of events, he made a beeline for the camera, nosing his way into the lens. The once pristine camera lens was now occupied by something a little wet, shiny, and incredibly close up. Max's tongue. The abrupt and surprisingly intimate encounter between my camera and Max's tongue left me utterly stunned. I couldn't help but burst into fits of uncontrollable laughter, completely forgetting the photo shoot I had initially envisioned. Max, on the other hand, seemed utterly unperturbed by my mirth and continued to explore the camera with unyielding curiosity. It became clear that I had no choice but to capture this hilarious moment that had unfolded before me. With tears of laughter still in my eyes, I pressed the shutter button. In that split second, I had a photograph that was far from what I had anticipated. It was a candid shot of Max's tongue, filling the entire frame, looking as majestic and absurd as one could imagine. The sight was a masterpiece in its own peculiar way, a whimsical work of art that would leave even the most distinguished artists of our time flummoxed. Max's tongue, in all its glory, displayed every detail, from the bumps to the droplets. It had officially taken center stage. I couldn't help but share the photograph with friends and family who, like me, found themselves equally amused by Max's sudden and unexpected photographic debut. This accidental masterpiece quickly gained fame among my social circle, spreading like wildfire on social media. The world had discovered a new sensation: Max, the charismatic dog with a penchant for up-close photography. The tongue portrait quickly became Max's nickname, and I couldn't help but chuckle every time I thought about it. Max, the newfound camera star, remained blissfully oblivious to his sudden fame. He continued to be the playful and loving companion I had always known, entirely unaware of the viral sensation he had become. And while I had set out to capture a different side of him, the tongue portrait was a reminder of the unpredictable and delightful nature of life with a dog. Reminder of the unpredictable and delightful nature of life with a dog.